Hey folks, AJ the CEO here, and you probably see me from YouTube and doing all these installs and stuff, and you see and you know that I play at church. I'm a preacher's kid and been in church my whole life, and we do a lot of media ministry stuff. We've been celebrating 10 years of doing this, installing and everything, but obviously I'm a Christian first, and there are a lot of things that I have questions about. And this whole series is called One Question, where I bring up one question, and it's not just me talking. I'm bringing some people in to discuss this with me, so it doesn't sound like I'm an old man just yelling at the clouds about why things are. And I really want to have a candid conversation about certain things that are affecting us locally in the church, specific denominations, whether it be black, white, Asian, whatever, United States, other countries. I mean, it's full game, fair game for whatever discussion that we talk about. But we're gonna just bring in one question this time, and I got somebody here who's world renowned. If the world doesn't know about him yet, just wait a little bit longer, and you'll be hearing from him. And that is Anthony. Anthony, say hello to the good folks for us.
Hey, what up, though, y'all?
Anthony is somebody who's been a part on our YouTube channel for years. He has, I remember the first time me and Anthony met, he had a question and he was following one of my videos of building a computer for the first time. And we got up to chopping and I was helping him out. And both of us just struggled to realize after, I don't know, what was it, 30 minutes, an hour,
Yeah.
that we had a Decklink mini monitor instead of a mini recorder, and that's why we could never get video coming into the computer, but that's where we started from, and I'm so proud of this guy because he's making it so I do not have to go there and do some of the stuff that he's doing now. He's actually helping out churches, building computers, doing installs, doing all that stuff, and, I'm just happy to be able to at least push him in that direction to help him the little bit that I did because he gets all the praise, honor, and glory for the stuff that he's doing because that's him. And I'm excited about being here on this first episode of this one question. Is there anything else you want to say, Anthony, before I drop this question on you?
No, I'm just honored to have stumbled across your particular video. Wow, 6 years ago. It'll be 6 years next month to be exact. So this has been a fun ride, man.
So, Anthony, one question before I ask the one question for you, if you don't mind me asking. How old are you?
43.
Okay. I am going on 48. So I'm feeling old. But anyway, so that's good. So we know where we're at when I ask this
Yeah.
question. So this is the question. You being in church, your church growing up, where you're at now, and you interacting with other ministries. So you've been seeing other ministries and their dynamics behind the scenes that most people don't see. The question is, what can churches do to actually get more people to come to church? Now that sounds like a classic church question about, yeah, people need to come to church, but we're gonna dig a little bit deeper. So that's the question. I'm gonna just let you go at it, and then I'm gonna pose some questions. We're gonna have a dialogue with that. But go ahead.
From my experience, growing up in my home church, got a break from tradition. Everything doesn't have to continue to be done the way we did it back in the 80s and even in the 90s because we're in different times, a different age now. See, in those times, we were not recording every Sunday like we're doing now. You had hundreds and thousands of people attending services every Sunday, whereas right now, it's all about reaching those who are not in your building, who's not in the sanctuary. The streaming aspect is something that I feel that God has forced upon many ministries, but a lot of people don't want to break from tradition and actually utilize it. They would rather you come into the building to make it seem as if because I have 500 people, we're thriving. But are you really thriving or are you doing it for face value? I know a lot of small ministries that are outdoing some mega ministries because they're reaching the people the way the people deserve to be reached. They're not making it all about money. They're not trying to force you to come. And those are the type of ministries that I think are the ones that are extremely blessed. because you can feel the sincerity in their in the ministries when you go to them and when you're speaking to different people that attend their services every particular Sunday. The churches that I have been blessed to help are smaller in numbers, so to speak, compared to my church. But when I interact with them, they're more in depth and more in tune to what's actually going on versus just trying to keep doing things the same old way.
Mhm.
And it makes me feel great to be able to interact with those particular churches because when they ask me for an idea and I go over the idea with them, it's never, well, we're going to try it this way. What the response that I normally get is, how can you help us do it? And when I put my spin on it, trust me, I get a lot of positive feedback, not only from their members, but those who've watched me grow in this particular field and have become impressed with what I'm actually doing. Um, but the tradition is good on certain things, but if you're trying to move into a different realm, different atmosphere, you have to break from those traditions and create new ones. And just being stuck doing things the way you've been doing them, what I've learned is sometimes it just doesn't work. It's run its course. And that can go with leaders. It can go with um, basically the leaders. You have to invest in changing to because if people see that you're still doing the same old thing, they're not going to be in tune to actually want to join and be a part of your ministry. But
Oh,
if you're doing some things that is eye catching and appealing to the mind, and it's not more so you're trying to compete with other ministries, but you're doing something that's new and other people that have become accustomed to you doing it just one particular way, and now they're seeing you change, they'll be more in depth to be like, hey, I want to go check this place out. I'm so used to them, doing it this way, but now look at them. They're streaming. They got a podcast. I want to go and see what this is about. So change is necessary.
okay. So I'm glad you helped me with my segue. So I completely agree with everything you're saying. So I'm gonna play not the devil's advocate, but I'm gonna be the advocate on the other side, challenging something that you said and redirecting it a little bit. So I completely agree that we shouldn't just focus on local and kind of like how you're empowered to help out with other ministries. So uh, we dig in a rabbit hole a little bit here. So what do you feel the church, the local church, is lacking to where they're not empowering the people who are there in attendance to give them the freedom to do what you're doing or to encourage you to champion you on to do more stuff which entail shows, hey, because kind of like how you said, because I'm not in the old hat, I'm not the old leaders that have been here, that hey, I'm being encouraged to actually step out and do something new. How do you do that?
What I've learned, um, when something excites me, I want to learn how to do it. And I'll never forget. I asked a few people back. I think I was still in like middle school or high school, something like that. And I was always intrigued on learning how they did the different programs. I didn't know if they were using Publisher, Word, or anything. And I would always ask if they could teach me how to do it. And I guess they must have assumed that I was trying to take something from them or take money from them. And they never wanted to really show me how to do it.
Mhm.
So my mindset is if you're refusing to show me how to do it, I'm gonna learn it on my own. And I'm gonna become the best at what I do because I feel like you think that I'm not deserving to learn this. So since I feel that I'm capable of handling it, I'm gonna figure it out and I want to master it. And I'm gonna become the very best that I can in this particular field. I feel that way with many leaders in the church because some people feel like you're trying to take over or you're trying to have them removed or different things like that. My rebuttal to it is we're not trying to have you removed or take over, but your season possibly has come and gone. If you're not reaching like you used to, something should click and tell you, you know what, I done tried it my way for 30, 40 years, and I know technology is changing. Let me see if somebody else can step up and carry this load. What I see is a lot of people just don't want to let that barrier go. And I call people like that, and I call scenarios like that very selfish.
Mhm,
Why hold on to something until you get ready to die, but you have never trained anyone under you to carry that load?
mhm,
Now, as with me personally, I thank God that I was able to learn what I do in my church from people like my late pastor, and especially my grandfather. A lot of the older leaders that took a liking to me as a kid would teach me certain things. And I'll never forget, a lot of them used to say, I'm not going to be here forever. So I got to teach you how to do X, Y, and Z. And I appreciate those individuals for doing that because they showed me true value. Because with me, I've seen so many people come and go, whether they've left the church or has been called home. And the work they left behind still has to be carried out. And I'm blessed, and I thank God, truly, I thank God every single day that if something goes on in my church, I can step up and say, look, this is how it should be done. One, two, three, four, five. You know what I'm saying? I can truly say that. Now, a lot of people can't echo that. What's hurting is you have leaders that have been in place and that are refusing to step back to let that younger generation learn and build off that legacy that's there. And what they'll rather do is let that legacy die. And then the next group of leaders have to come up and spend a multitude of years of rebuilding
mhm.
what should have never been torn down in the first place.
Yeah, mm, I couldn't agree more. Now, let's just call a spade a spade. Just say that that's what's going on. You as an individual, me as an individual, what do you think are ways when the hierarchy, if you want to call it that, are kind of obstinate to making change? Without trying to, flip tables over and cause a whole lot of controversy and stuff like that. I remember somebody told me a long time ago that when a plane flies and it banks and it makes turns, there's only a certain percentage of a turn that it can make, a certain degree. Because if you turn too much, you'll make everybody sick. And that's kind of like the same adage that they do with ships. That you can't turn the ship completely 180 because you'll make everybody fall on the ship. You slowly make that turn. So I use that analogy to say, what is something when you know that the powers that be might are kind of against it? How do you make that change when the stack is kind of against you? Because again, one person can affect everything, and not to keep, dragging on to give you an answer, but like for me, a lot of people when I was doing this stuff, they didn't think streaming was that important. I kept doing it, and I ended up getting punched in the face, all this other stuff metaphorically, stopping me from trying to make this change that people were trying to fight. But I stayed at it, and now everybody completely forget about how much they used to fight to make this change. Now everybody thinks it was the whole everybody's idea. But what do you do? How do you encourage? How does you or anybody else that's listening say that you're a one man, you're one woman that's trying to make this change when everybody else around you is saying they don't want to? How do you do that?
I mean, I've shared this scenario with you many, many times. In the beginning, I felt like quitting because I felt like it wasn't worth it.
Mhm,
But then when I started praying, I'll never forget the Lord speaking to me and saying, I removed you into this new season for a reason. These same folk that criticized me when I started out streaming are the same ones that's dependent on what I do every single Sunday. I got criticized because my stream didn't look like this ministry or it didn't sound like this. And I'm looking like, okay, I don't have to do this. This is volunteer. I could be at home, especially during COVID. So again, what I do is I prayed, I heard what the Lord said, and then I acted. I acted because if you're gonna doubt me and criticize me every step of the way, I'm about to flip this script on you. So it's gonna benefit not only me but the church as a whole. And I did that. I'll never forget it, man. The we were I was dealing with some crazy folk. To keep it candid, I was dealing with some crazy individuals, man. And it's like I got criticized so much to where I'll never forget. I went to our treasurer and our chairman of the deacon board and told him, look, I'm sick of these people sending me messages on the phone that I pay for, always criticizing what I'm doing on Sundays when I don't have to be here. I could be at home quarantining. And I said, maybe y'all need to find somebody else. They wouldn't accept no for an answer.
Mhm.
So that's when I began praying, Lord, what do you really want out of this? And that's when he started talking. I put you in this position for a reason. Overlook those people that's always the negative Nancy's type, because I got your back. And when I tell you, I work so much better when I'm doubted. Now, I'm telling you, these same folk that were putting forks in the road against me and knives in my back for every single thing that I did. These are the same ones that all, hey, yeah, I like how you did this and I like how you did that. I've been doing it for 6 years, but you criticize it every step of the way. So what I do is, like I said, I pray. I wait to hear what the Lord wants me to do. Because if I act on Anthony's intuition, sometimes my reaction might not be the best reaction.
Mhm.
So I've learned to just sit back and just keep doing what the Lord put me in this position to do. It's not easy, but I find it to be a blessing because look at where I'm able to help the different ministries and I'm literally helping every single day. And it's not just a Sunday thing for me. It's a Sunday through Sunday. I
Mhm.
constantly get phone calls. Can you help us do this? Can you do this? ABZ? You know what I'm saying? So when you doubt me, I feel like the Lord is elevating me. So just keep doubting, keep trying to throw, the little cones in the way because I'm going to overstep them and I'm going to keep doing what I'm supposed to do for the Lord.
Cool. Cool. So, say next week, a 10-year-old comes up to you and says, Mr. Anthony, I got this great idea about, I don't know, some new platform that literally just like, what, Kick, the Kick platform. And they're saying, "Hey, I would love to do this with the ministry, but I ain't got the money to do it. Everybody's telling me this is wrong, this, and this. I shouldn't. My parents are ignoring this, and church is like this, and everybody just wants me to just sit here and color in Moses in the church coloring book when I go to Sunday school." Well, if you had one thing to say to that person, that kid, what would it be?
Not to give up. Use what you have. If you want to broadcast the kick, nobody is stopping you. If you need encouragement, I'm always here to encourage you. If you want to know where to start, you're talking to the right person. I can show you where to start. I can show you how to build and gradually develop your own style. Because just because you're 10, a lot of people may feel that you don't know what you're talking about or this won't benefit. But if this is your liking and you want to add it to something in a positive way, especially for the church, let's try it. If it fails, let's come back to the table together and see what made it fail, retool, and start it over again. But never give up because you never know if the Lord has told this young kid or showed this young kid something about kick that can be added.
Mhm.
And I'm. It used to get on my nerves when people, and to this day, um, I have a great deal of passion and compassion for young people because I've always had people there to help me and to guide me and to train me. And it gets on my nerves when people just shrug the youth to the side because they don't understand what they're doing. But if the Lord told you and showed you this is what he wants you to do, don't be foolish enough to start giving it up, because that's obviously is something that the Lord sees in you, and he's going to build off of that. And it can take you to some levels that you can only dream of.
And, and I like that because I want to go back full circle on how we started this with the question of like, how do we get more people, younger people, active in the church? And we didn't say it directly, but hopefully you could read in between the lines and tell me if I'm wrong with this. First off, and I'm going to go backwards based off of what you just said. We build an environment that actually cultivates and builds them up and gives them a support system in their view, whether it's our view or not. Like, for example, like with my daughter. My daughter has tried a bunch of things. She's wanted to be a pescatarian. I think she dabbled with doing a vegetarian for a little bit. Then she did cheerleading, then did soccer, and then now it's martial arts. Now, a part of me could easily be like, I don't want to keep jumping from this, and this. But my whole thing is like, that's not my life. That's my daughter's life. My goal as a dad is to be like, I'm going to help nurture you and build a safe space for you to where you can find out what your passion is and whatever it is. Now, I'm gonna make you stick to it until you get to the end of it. Like that would be okay, you decided to be cheerleading. No, you're not quitting until the season is over. And if you don't want to do it anymore, we can address it then. And I think kind of what you said, and I think that my thought is with church as well too. Everybody has a gift and a talent that's been given. And just because it doesn't fit the narrative of the tradition that you had, like what's the point? Like you being 43, me going on 48, there was no thought of, hmm, a professional digital LED wall installer when I was 3 because that didn't exist. So how can anybody actively say that this might not be a calling from God when that stuff didn't even exist to your knowledge when you were born? You have no idea what that's gonna be effective to, and kind of like what you said, you have no idea what that gift and talent can excel that local ministry, the community, the state, the country, the world at large off of following that passion, but you let a couple of naysayers that didn't have any vision stop it. Am am I right, wrong?
No,
What you
you're
thought?
you're you're absolutely correct on that. Because I look back where I started. I started, like I said, you and I met in March of 2020, and I was fumbling through YouTube, and I believe I was just searching for streaming or something to that effect. I came across several different channels, and I watched pretty much all of them. But when I got to yours seemed more personal, and it was easier for me to listen and watch your videos literally all day long, to where I'm like, when is he going live? Because I think in one of the videos you mentioned it, that you were going live. I felt like at that time, the Lord was showing me this is where I'm taking my people to, because we've been used to doing things our way for so long, it became obsolete at that time.
Mhm,
Because here, I'll never forget when COVID first popped up. I was working with our leaders, and we all was sitting around one particular Tuesday, and we were talking about this COVID, and the governor here in Michigan was shutting down the church. So we made the decision that the third Sunday in March, we would no longer have in-person services until further notice,
mhm,
because COVID was extremely scary. So when I got asked to stream, I took that very like I would do anything else, extremely serious. This is the only way that my church could survive and hear the word of God through what I was getting ready to do. And had I like just went on and just gave up when two or three people always had something negative to say, it's no telling where my church would have been. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but I know during those particular times, had I not streamed, nobody from our church would have been able to get the message from our interim pastor during those particular moments, man. And I used every single avenue that I had to learning and developing this craft. I still watch that video of that computer to this day. I go back and like, wow, I actually remember sitting in the room with the computer in my lap while AJ was live showing me how to do A, B, and C on this computer. And I'm so thankful for that because you could have been the one that like some of these other folk and not even done that. But I feel that we connected because God was taking not only what I was doing, but He was elevating everything that you set out to do to a whole different dimension. You look at where you started at as far as your subscribers. I look at where I started at streaming with the cell phone, and now PTZ cameras and all of this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's fun. I literally watch YouTube more than I do my local channels because I'm always trying to learn what can I do different next Sunday? What can I change about what I did for next week? You know, what intro music can I do? You know, what other angles can I use? God wakes me up some nights, man, at 3, 4 in the morning. And I will hop right on the computer and start designing different things that I saw like in my dreams so I can be ready for example, a funeral, a wedding, a service, Sunday school, something. Because what I'm doing is it's not to benefit me, but I'm reaching people that I may not see every day or talk to every day. And that's the biggest flex that I can truly say. This is something that I didn't know that I was walking into. When I stepped down as our church announcer in 2019, and then a few months later, COVID hit, and
Mhm.
now I'm streaming. I had no idea. The Lord was showing me then, I gotta take you from what you are used to doing and prepare you for something that you don't even know is coming. None of us knew that COVID was coming. But when it came, we was prepared because I just pressed the button on the phone and we went live, you know.
Mhm.
All the extra stuff I learned, and I was literally staying up to 5 and 6 in the morning. I would go to bed some nights at 2, couldn't sleep, wake right back up, and I'm on YouTube with my old laptop, and I'm trying to develop something. And I'm grateful. I'm truly, truly grateful, man. And that's why I feel like any church that reaches out to me for advice or for me to come through and give them a quote on a project, I take that to heart because wow, Lord, you are opening up some doors that I never even knew that you wanted me to walk through.
Mhm.
You know, I never even dreamed about streaming. And when I wanted my church to go live on Facebook, everybody was against it. But when COVID came, hey, can you uh next week stream the service on Facebook? Yeah, I could do that with no problem. And then I learned how to develop and build YouTube channels and different things like that. So hey, I give all praise to God every single day. And I truly thank him every single opportunity I get. I thank God for me running into that one video that you had. And the rest is history. You know, I just wish, I really wish that other church leaders would, if that's something that they are not comfortable with, stay in your lane. Let the individuals that know what they're doing handle it. You know, we're not here to bring any hurt, harm, or shame to the church. We're just here to get God get God's message across to those who cannot, number one, come to the building, and two, those who we might want to come to the building.
Mhm.
You know, so it's a two-way thing. We want to do everything that God wants us to do in this particular area. Just stop fighting us. I'm thankful that I never get questioned, primarily because no one knows how to do what I do. And I think God designed it like that. See, these same folk that criticize me, they can't run Ethernet cables through the ceiling
Mhm.
or HDMI cables for cameras. They can't stream through OBS or any other streaming service. They don't know how to go to YouTube. How do you get our stuff on YouTube? I'll show you. I don't have a problem showing you. You know, they can't remote in from your phone. Like Sunday, we're getting ready to baptize. I'm literally remoting in to my system, which was upstairs, and I'm downstairs in the sanctuary, assisting everybody else, but I still have the service going. You don't know how I'm doing that, but I'm the type, I stay in my lane. If you feel like you can do it better, go right ahead. But I guarantee you one thing, because your heart may not be in it, it's not going to give you the same residual effects that I receive or others receive. Because God put us in this particular season for a reason. And here it is 6 years later, and I'm still doing the exact same thing that people criticize me over.
You know what? I didn't really when I started this, I really had no idea how this whole recording was gonna go. So, the thought is this whole series was called One Question, and the question was, how do we get more young people here, into the church and more active? Now, I don't know if you were able to read in between the lines. None of that stuff was actually answered, but it was displayed,
Mhm.
meaning that Anthony is a young adult. How was he now again, I'm speaking boldly, so please correct me if I'm wrong with this. Was there anything prior to when you started doing this that you were this passionate about in church?
Um, to go to this particular level, it had been years
Mhm,
before, that I had this much passion for anything. And primarily because I started seeing a shift in the atmosphere, so to speak, that
mhm,
I wasn't happy with and I wasn't comfortable with. And it kind of had me at the point of leaving and not wanting to be a part of my local church at that, during that particular time. And even when I started streaming, it with certain people would say some very evil things to me. And it got to the point to where I'm like, I should just pack this stuff up and go home because I don't have to deal with this.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'll still watch service, but y'all won't have none. You know what
mhm,
I'm saying? Um, my passion, man, it had died. Honestly, man, my passion for a lot of the things that I was doing, it literally started dying out when my grandfather passed away in 2015, and then when my pastor passed away in 2018, I felt at that time my mission at my church was complete
mhm,
because when my grandfather died, or prior to him passing on, I had worked alongside him since the age of 13 as a junior deacon. And then in the choir, I had been singing in our choir from the age of either 8 or 9. And out of all the people that I had grew up with in the church, I was the only one left, literally the only one left. So it was a lot of Sundays I would go to church like, why am I still in this building? Ain't nobody here that I grew up with, and ain't none of them coming back.
mhm,
But because my pastor had gotten sick, and me not knowing, like 2 months, 2 to 3 months after my pastor got sick, that my grandfather was gonna, pass away. And it's like I came to a crossroads. Like I'm the only one out of my family left here. I think it might be time for me to venture off and try something different. And the only thing that kept me from doing it is, and I have not an issue with saying it, I saw how people started treating my pastor when he got sick,
mhm,
and it really, really hurt. And I'm like, ain't no way I'm getting ready to leave, and that man needs us right now. Though, ain't no way he's going to be here in a wheelchair, and I'm not here to help him because I watched that guy not only help me when I suffered my stroke, man. My pastor was there. Himself and his wife, every Saturday, I look forward to getting my phone call at 9 o'clock from Pastor Jones and Miss Jones. to ask me how my week was and if I needed anything. And then we ended that call with prayer. And then I would go home. And I did that for at least 2 months straight before I was able to go back to church.
Mhm.
And when my pastor got sick, I'm like, hold on, I'm not leaving. You was there for my family when my mother died, my grandmother died, my little cousin was murdered. You was there for me when my grandfather died, even though you was recuperating from a stroke yourself. But you called me every single day. And when I started seeing how people did him, I told him straight up, Reb, no matter what you do, if you stay as full-time pastor or no matter what, I'm right with you. And when he died, it hurt me because he's the only man that I've ever known and have ever called as my pastor at that time.
Mhm.
And when he died, I literally a week later, I started seeing the church shift in the area that I wasn't happy with. So my passion and my love died July 8th, 2018, when my pastor closed his eyes.
Mhm.
And I think with COVID popped up, I don't know where the excitement came from. It must have been because I was able to learn something new. And then I'm like, I'll never forget I was at home, on YouTube and everything like that. And I'm like, dang, so the people, we really can't go outside. We really can't do this. We can't do that. But the only way we can get our message is I go to church and stream it for, our congregation.
Mm.
And I took that very, very seriously because, like I said, man, I really believe in my heart my church would have folded and closed for good if we didn't stream every week. And I think that's where my passion came because nothing at that point mattered to me anymore. What mattered was I got to get to church to make sure Sunday school is ready to go or Sunday service is ready to go. And even now that I'm 43, I still do the exact same thing, even though a lot of times I get so frustrated. When my alarm clock goes off at 7 in the morning, Lord, can I get 30 more minutes? Because I really don't want to get up. You know what I'm saying? But when I go, I'm like, I give my all because my name is out there. My name is on this stuff. And when I go through the comments and I see the different people commenting, I'm like, Lord, thank you. Because I was ready to give up on everything, in that particular church. I was ready to give it all up. And I just feel like right now my passion is there, um, is there in the area that I work in because I've learned how to block out the naysayers. I learned how to block out the haters. I
Mhm.
actually thank God for the haters because you hated me so much to where I'm able to travel from state to state to do what I'm doing here for y'all.
Mhm.
I'm able to build computers, hang TVs, all of this stuff. And the same haters that criticize me, I thank God for them because y'all gave me my passion back when my passion was dying. Y'all hated me to the point to where that hate is my kryptonite. So keep hating because all it's going to do is make me stronger and that my passion is going to get deeper.
Mm.
So I welcome the haters, man.
And I think bringing it full circle, if I had to answer the question that we started with is how do you get more young people involved? We talked about it and you demonstrated it in this entire time of this conversation to where you had somebody who actually decided to pour into someone.
Yep.
They poured into you, they encouraged, they did that where you had, in spite of all the hell that was going on, they gave you a sense of peace in one area.
Yeah.
And that seed was watered, it was fertilized, it was taken care of. That when, just like when winter comes and the snow covers that whole thing, it hibernated for a season.
Yep.
And just say that your old pastor covered you. And then, just like when winter ends, it passed
Awesome.
on. It passed on, but when he passed on, it was allowed you to germinate and grow, and now how do you get more people involved? You actually put time into somebody. You all the experiences and everything that we talked about with the old guard. Instead of keeping that stuff to yourself, it sounds like your pastor and his wife poured into you something,
They
and
really
they were able
did,
to
man.
pass that on. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, my pastor's been gone since 2018, and I still remember a lot of things that he used to tell me when we would have our one-on-one time. And even though as a kid, I didn't understand his chastisement at that time, but the older I got and the more wiser I got, I understood. They saw something in me that they didn't want to fall to the wayside, especially after losing my mother when I was 8 years old. To get more young people in the church, number one, you have to be welcoming to
Mm.
young people. You have to allow them to be young.
Yeah, don't have force them to conform to what you're used to.
Exactly. They have to want to feel like they are a part of something.
Mhm.
Now, even though we are in church, I don't believe in forcing the Bible on them as soon as they get in. And the reason why, because you're going to scare them off too fast.
Mhm.
Find out what they like. Use that as a stepping stone. Then you incorporate the word of God in there. If you got to get kids to come to your church by playing basketball, I'm all for it because that's what we did. We had basketball. We used to play football, baseball. We used to go. It was a place called the Butterfly here, and that was the arcade. We use all of those moments as bonding with other youth, and that's how they developed the love for the church. My first job was at my church, washing dishes in our kitchen. That was a way for us to learn how to be responsible, how to earn an honest living. You got to have something that's going to keep them there, and something that they are going to like gravitate to. With now, I can say this: my current pastor, we baptized more under him within 3 months. We've baptized every first Sunday since like November, December.
Mm.
I haven't ran that pool that regular in years, maybe for one person. But when I tell you from December, January, and even February, we baptize no less than 5 to 6 people at a time, and most of them have been young. That's my confirmation that we had the right person in the right place at the right time. Because those kids are joining it because they see something that they like
Mhm.
and they want to learn a little bit more about what that man is talking about. You got to get their attention. Get their attention, and I guarantee they'll do the rest. But don't and have program. I would love for the kids to want to learn how to stream
Mhm.
because I'm a show. I would teach them how to run our soundboard. I would teach them, how to um where to put our microphones, how to clean the microphones after each use. I would love to have a team like that. You know, that's something that I am hoping that I can do, so it can be a real team versus just me. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to show these kids, "Look, this is what I do every single Sunday. And I just don't use it for church. I use it for podcasts. I use it for gaming. I use it for video, for let's say like sports, the same way that you would, record your sports and different things like that. Because I would hit them with it because I know that's what the kids like.
Mhm.
And I would teach them blow by blow. This is how you got to do it. Ask me any question. But don't just get them in there and the first thing you hit with, well, we need ties. We need benevolent. No, now you about to run all of them kids away because they don't have it like that.
Mhm.
You got to teach them what tithing is. You got to teach them the word of God on their level.
And
That's the way the kid's gonna stay.
And you know what I would add to that is how and you again, if y'all have been listening, we've been answering all of these questions, but you have to be able to pull it out. And I'll make it as plain as possible. How do you get people involved? How do you get them to come to church? First off, they don't need to see, and I've said this so many times, they don't need to hear another sermon. They need to see one.
Yes.
They saw when you actually bring in people and you get to know them for what they are at the level that they're at, instead of trying to throw a Bible and cram it down their throat and try and get all these principles and all this other stuff, that the principles don't mean nothing when if they can't see the teacher demonstrating those principles. You'll
And that,
learn
that's
that way
how
faster.
that's how it was for me because I had that relationship with my pastor. I was able to see him in Bible class. I was able to see my pastor in choir rehearsal. I was able to see my pastor come by the church when we had different events and him making you want to be a part of the church. My pastor used to come out there and shoot hoops with us to this day. That man still got the undisputed record for not missing free throws in his shirt and collar. You know what I'm saying? We saw our pastor, um, and I agree with you 100%. They have to see. You just can't listen to it, or you just can't go off what somebody is telling you. They have to be a part of that experience. When I tell you my experience with the church growing up is something that I would never ever forget and something I will never ever throw away. I wish I could turn back the hands of time for this generation because I tell them all the time, the fun you think y'all having is nothing compared to what we used to do
Mhm.
because we loved the church so much and wanted to be a part of the church. And the people that was there at that time made us feel like we were a part. We was at church 7 days a week. I don't care what it was. Even when we didn't have to go to choir rehearsal, we would catch the bus to go straight to church
Mhm.
and would sit in the pews while the adult choir was rehearsing or the senior choir was rehearsing. We didn't care. We just wanted to be a part. And I'm thankful that my pastor allowed us, number one, to be kids, and he showed us that he cared. It just wasn't all talk with SL Jones, man. He showed us that he cared for us. And I think that's what's lacking in the church. A lot of kids don't see the genuine love from their leaders. But if you go back in our day, where our grandparents taught us at home, and then that teaching carried over to the church, that's what made the difference. And that's why a lot of us are still in the church because of what we got at home and what we experienced firsthand, from our pastor, man.
And I think, you know, wrapping up the stuff, I think that's the whole point of we talked about how to get more people involved. And then we show that one person can make a difference and can make a change, can make everything pivot. But then finishing out what we just talked about is we need to be able to set an environment that's welcoming, understanding people, but also instead of asking people to just attend a church service, they need to be able to see what is being taught in our
Yes.
actions. And then that gives people the freedom to be able to come and talk. Then that's when you can open up doors to where you can have conversations with people and they can talk about, they feel at liberty to get these things off your chest. It says to confess your sins one to another, to where you can actually help in being able to grow and learn something about them, to where they have this whole thing of like, man, kind of like with you found an identity, you found a calling, you found a ministry because you've been tempered in a way to where you can actually be, vulnerable. You were at a place. I don't, I wouldn't say dare say it this the way that first popped in my mind, but you were on your sick bed and people came
Yep.
and you got there and you saw the love, not just heard it being taught, you saw it in action. And then that carried over and then that blossomed. And the last thing I would say is now that, we're at the age where we're now at the age able to set the atmosphere that sometimes for good and for bad, other people did or did not set. So I think just and I think you're doing a marvelous job in what you're doing as well too, that you're actually now rectifying the issue that's stopping other people from coming. You know, you're actually making the atmosphere to where it's like, hey, how do we get more people involved? We started with one person, and that one person has blossomed into a situation to now you're in a position to where you can actually be the catalyst of change so that more people can come in. That's the same way it was with me. When I was doing all this media ministry stuff, all the kids were just sitting there, and then all of a sudden they sitting in church looking on their phone at YouTube, and then they're seeing Mr. AJ come up. And then at church, they're seeing a video announcement that is the end result of the video that they saw. And then they come up to me, Mr. AJ, how do you do this? And I didn't ask them to try and get into ministry. I answered their question.
Yep.
And I tried to find out what their passion is and this, and this, and blah. Hey, if you ever want to, man, look, I'll bring my PlayStation next Sunday. And after church, you come up here, I can show you how we can, I do streaming and this is this. And it was never any, I'm only going to show this if you join the media ministry. It was like,
And I agree.
yeah, you actually found out what their interest was and you let it blossom in whatever direction it goes. But your character and how you live your life will show that, yeah, can we take the knowledge that we have and we can do some nefarious stuff with it? Yeah, we could. But our character instills is layered on top of that knowledge to where it's like, you know what? Anthony taught me this. Yeah, I could do this stuff. I could be streaming some other adult stuff, but I I I just have no desire to do that because the teacher who taught me somehow didn't give me that vibe that I even wanted to cross my mind.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, this was an interesting one. I had no idea how this conversation was going to go, but Anthony, I appreciate it, man. I mean, did you have any other closing thoughts on this whole thing, this whole conversation that we had?
I appreciate me just being a part of it. You know what I'm saying? I truly do. I'm glad that I clicked on Facebook and saw your question. I'm always willing to help because I have people help me, you know, and a lot of those people that I had as like cornerstones for me are gone now. But the ones that are still there, I cherish. And the knowledge that I've gained within these 43 years is breathtaking, man, because it's a little scary because I still remember what I was doing as a teenager. And here it is. I'm getting ready to be 44 in a couple weeks. And I'm like, Lord, you moving time too fast. Slow down some, man. Please slow down. You know what I'm saying? Like literally. But I wish that that your church can definitely be what it once was, that spiritual hospital for all of us, that place that you can go to when things got hard and got a little tough for you. That is my ultimate prayer that we get back there. And once you get those kids in there, do everything in your power to keep them there. Do everything in your power to make them a part of the order of service. Do everything that you can possibly do to keep their mind occupied on what God is doing and let them see that life is not all that, you know, some people make it. We struggle too, but this is how we're able to make it over. This is how we're able to pay bills when we don't have not a dime in our pocket.
Mm.
This is how we're able, you know, to get up every single day when our bodies is just racking with pain. This is what we do. Um, I want the youth to get back into the church. Like I said, what the ultimate thing is when they get there, have some things for them to do. Even if you got to step back 2 or 3 times, do it. Teach them. Teach them how to carry the church forward the same way that we were taught.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, I appreciate it, man. And look, if y'all like this stuff, I didn't do the typical YouTube stuff. Click the like button, hit the bell. Da, da, da. I mean, I want to do that, but I got a video talking about why that's not as important as you think anymore. But we'll talk about it in a later video. But again, I don't want this channel just to be a how to and a technical. I want it to be that we're trying to evolve and go beyond the four walls of the church so we can share the knowledge. That's not just in technology. That is in also being vulnerable, having the tough conversations that a lot of people wanted to sweep up under the rug, because we're never going to be able to grow the church and reach more people if we can't show that we're actually human. We have
Yeah.
issues and we have to address those things. And this is an issue no matter the denomination. Out of all the traveling that I've done, and I'm sure you've seen it too, the issues that you have at your local church are universal. So that means
Yeah.
all of us got those issues.
My pastor used to say that. He said, "You leave one church thinking you're going to another one that's perfect." He said, "When you find it, come back and let me know."
Exactly. So it's like there's things that a lot of us are just sweeping up under the rug. And this,
Yeah.
again, I can't solve everything, but kind of like what you said, this is my attempt in trying to at least try to offer a solution instead of being somebody else sitting in the bleachers complaining, trying to
Yeah.
be a coach from the bleachers. I'd rather get in the game and try and do something. It might just push the needle by 1 degree, but that's better than sitting there doing nothing.
Yep.
All right, I appreciate it, folks. So now we'll do the classic YouTube stuff. So if you like this type of content, appreciate a like, consider subscribing, hit that bell. That way you get notified when we come out with other videos where we ask you one question that maybe be able to help move this church, the ministry forward to reach more people. So later, folks. We'll see you on the next video.